tell us about Reseau Consulting and how you are contributing to the growth and development of space capabilities in Nigeria? Also, I would like for you to share any success stories or initiatives you have about Reseau Consulting in Africa.
Uh, okay, thank you so much, Kofoworola. So my name is Omowonuola and I am Nigerian. So Reseau Consulting is a network of like-minded practitioners. So there's an associate group for the consulting firm where, you know, the associate group is, we have a lot of women in the group. So the idea for that is to kind of amplify the voices of, young professionals from Africa, Asia, Latin America, you know, places that are referred to as the global south, who, like if you're based in Nigeria, I hope, and then we have some challenges, related to socioeconomic status and race and religion and ethnicity. So like the idea for the associates is just to bring different people from different backgrounds, with different perspectives into like a group so that we can share ideas and meet each other and collaborate and talk about the challenges that we face and how we can solve those challenges. So to highlight some of the stories that we have for the women in the group, like I said, we have a group of women. So for example, one of the things that I think is one of the success story in the group is we currently have some group of women that have decided to come together to create a proposal for, a particular project. And then we also have, there's also one member of the group, Let's Win, who also through the associate was able to also attend a conference in China, to share our voice on the global stage it was on a youth panel session, and she's from the eastern part of Africa, and she was able to go on to the conference to share perspective based on her own background. So the whole aim of the group is to connect people who have like-mindedness and to come together to collaborate, like I mentioned already, to collaborate, to share ideas and to see how we can also support other people who are also from these global south communities.
Thank you very much, Omowonuola. If I may ask, this is just a supplementary question to the first question. So personally, I'm interested in how the relationship between Reseau Consulting and space in Africa.
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. So the idea for the consulting is to bring together people who are like-minded. So like these women, okay, so not just people, they are women. These women are women that are in the space sector. So for example, I have a background in geospatial, and I'm currently transitioning or pivoting into Earth observation. And we have a lot of other women as well on the group who also have background in the space. So I need to say that this is not just an African thing. So it's like a global group of women who have background in Earth observation. We have some women on the group. We have a particular person on the group who has raised millions of dollars for our own constellation that she's building. So they have low Earth orbiting satellites that she's building. We also have one of the members of the group who was also in Time magazine for AI. We also have an ocean expert on the group. So the thing that brings everybody on the group together is space. We all have backgrounds in space, and like I said, it's a group of women, and everybody's just looking for ways that they can contribute to the space technology. It's like I said, it's not just an African thing; it's a global thing. But we also have people from Africa. So, like I think that's how it connects, with the space sector in Africa, because we are looking at how can we support women in to go into space, I would say, but just to support women who are in the space in globally, to be able to share their voice, join events, like I mentioned, share their perspective on the global stage and all of that.
Thank you very much for your answer, Omowonuola. So to my next question, in your view, what are the most pressing capacity building gaps and challenges in Africa's space sector? And since you already mentioned that you're in the geospatial slash Earth observation angle, I guess, well, I'm not expecting, but I guess it would also be nice to hear it from that point of view rather than a more generic answer. You get what?
Yeah, yeah. I think yeah. I was going to say that yeah. I can only provide the answer based on the Earth observation space because space technology is very huge, and I don't think I have a lot of idea about everything that is going on. So yeah, I would mostly share my insights into that. Um, so for me, I think that one of the major challenges I would say is research and development funding. I think that that's one of like the biggest challenge that we have. We do not have enough funding for research and development in Africa. It is very limited, and I think for us to be able to do so much, we need to be able to do research. We need to be able to understand how to put this technology into use. How do we build this technology for our own ecosystem as well? So I think like maybe one of the major challenge that we have is the R&D funding, and I think that there needs to be like a mechanism for public partnership and private partnership, and as well as intercontinental partnership. For example, there's a Copernicus program in Europe, which is like the satellite program for like the European Space Agency. And if you look at the way like this thing works, it's a group of EU member states came together with some other organizations, and they did this partnership to be able to have these components for the European space program. So I think if we can have like those type of partnership, whether national or intercontinental, I mean like in Africa, where different African countries come together to kind of put money together and do this type of research, I think it's going to really help us grow. In that regards. So another thing I also feel like it's a challenge is there's also the lack of the skill sets. We do not have enough professionals, in the space science, in engineering, and the technology across many African countries. So I think if we, everything goes back into the funding. So if we have enough funding to invest in educating and training these people, even like from like the primary education to like the postgraduate program, I think it's going to really help, and it's going to help the continent and even Nigeria as a country, because then we can have more people who can come together to solve problems or to build technologies or to build satellites. Because we can, for in my own opinion, I don't think like only the government will be able to do this. So even if we have like private individuals who may have interest in this, they can also get funding from different sources to build this type of technology to help us monitor like the health, because one of the things that Earth observation is really useful for is for climate monitoring, and our climate impact is really getting huge. And if you search a lot of research, they always say that Africans would have like the most impact for climate. So if we can have a lot of trainings and building like the people in this continent as well to be able to contribute in that regard, I think that would also be a very useful contribution to the global space industry. So for me, I think those are some of the things that I think are like the challenges that we have with space technology.
All right, thank you very much for your answer. So, the next question, why did you, as in Reseau Consulting, choose to sponsor the 8th African Space Generation Workshop, as well as what are your objectives? What do you hope to achieve with this
Okay.
collaboration?
So like I mentioned, the idea for the consulting is to connect and facilitate like the voices of women from Europe and North America, like people who are in the global south, and Africa is one of it. So it just aligns with the goal, and because the event, the workshop, it's also like in the space sector, so the idea would be to then support that kind of event to be able to ensure that women can participate. We can also get to learn and understand what's going on, in the space ecosystem as a whole. Yeah. So I think that would be like the reason for the sponsorship.
All right, thank you. If there is one key message you want the audience to take away about Reseau Consulting's role in the African space ecosystem, what would it be?
It would be that it's really important, like I said, that we come together, and because one person cannot solve all of the problems. We need to understand that perspective matters. And the problem that we're facing in Nigeria might be different from the problem that somebody that stays in East Africa is facing, or somebody that lives in the Southern Africa is facing. So the idea to be able to have like this group that comes together to to connect women who are in the space, to be able to share ideas, to give them the platform to represent and talk about like their problems on the global, like I've always said, on the global stage. I think it's very important. And I think that I think it's really important, and I feel like we need to have those kind of spaces for people to to come together. And I think having that spaces for women, women, I know like it's a very common thing where they say like women do not have so much representation in some of the STEM fields. So it's very important that we support women to be able to meet other people like them, get some because if you are in a space where you have people who are doing so much great work, it would also motivate you to want to do great work. So I think I would just say that it's very important that we build this type of spaces for women, and we try to find ways that we can support women to also be able to share their perspectives and see the ways that we can contribute into the society. So I think that's one key message, that we need to create spaces for women to be able to build, network, connect, and share, and come together to also build something interesting.
All right, thank you very much, Omowonuola. For our last question, so people who are interested in Reseau Consulting, how can they engage with your initiatives to support capacity building in African space sector? Essentially, how can your listeners engage with your initiatives?
I guess like if they go on LinkedIn and Twitter, we have a LinkedIn page, and then I think there's a Twitter page, but I'm not very sure about that. But I'm very sure about the LinkedIn page. So you'll find the Reseau Consulting on LinkedIn, and then there's also the website that they can also check. So that would be reseauconsulting.com. If you go on the website, you'll find all of the list of the women who are also as part of the associate, as well as how you can connect with them and how you can support them.
All right, thank you very much. I think that brings us to the end.